zero tendencies. You can never steal it. Wutless Man, roll the dice. You're looking both ways. Walk with me twice.
Yo, Wagwan people, it is Drew here talking to things and pun the ends for episode 34 of the Grateful Yardy podcast. You can always hit us up, facebook.com/Grateful Yardy podcast. On Twitter, it's Mr. Special. On Instagram, it's Mr._special. And thank you for tuning in on our YouTube channel, which is the Grateful Yardy podcast. Also, you can drop me an email if you have an event, a tune, etc., for me to big up on the podcast. And the email address is gratefulyardypodcast@gmail.com. Gratefulyardypodcast@gmail.com. All right. Also, on the last episode, I played the TV theme challenge. Try saying that fast 3 times. Tune, which was Magnum PI. So shout out to anybody that knew what it was. It was Magnum PI played at the top of the show. I enjoyed that show. And as a kid, I was very much enamored with shows with fast cars. And Tom Selleck used to rock in that red Ferrari, old school Ferrari, which was one of my favorite cars, and I had to have, and I think I got one as either a Matchbox car or a Hot Wheels car. All right, a little context on why I played that. Okay, so we had UFC 214 pass us by, and in the pretty much a 3-trick pony main event, you had Cyborg win the featherweight belt. We had Tyrone Woodley successfully defend his welterweight championship. And in the main event, we saw John Jones, after his 2-year hiatus, come back and win his light heavyweight championship against Daniel Cormier. Okay, so I'm gonna speak about the main event because the main event was the one fight I was very much interested in on this card, and I'm just tired. I'm tired because the UFC has too many cards, and it's, to me, has lost its luster. It's trying to answer to too many masters. But in the main event, we saw John Jones look. There was no ring or cage rust. He looked like the John Jones of old that was dominating people before he started to do the craziness and get himself into trouble. I believe I said that it would have been a 3rd-round knockout, which he did accomplish with that devastating head kick. And he seemed humble, and he seemed very grateful, no pun intended, on the victory in the post-fight cage interview with Joe Rogan. But we also saw that Joe Rogan interviewed Daniel Cormier after the fight, and Cormier was crying. And a lot of people bashed Joe Rogan for speaking to Cormier after the fight. But here's the thing. I think as a fan, you want to hear from the loser. However, and we've seen this throughout the years of combat sports. We saw Howard Cosell talk to losers of the fight when they covered fights back in the day. Larry Merchant does the same thing in boxing, where he talks to the losers and winners. Maybe somebody in the booth told Joe to go talk to Daniel, and he did put context behind it before he did talk to Daniel and say, look, I'm talking like I know Cormier on a first name basis. I don't like doing this. And he was pretty much 90 seconds he talked to Cormier for. Do I feel it was right? It was right, but I feel because the guy could have been concussed, doesn't know exactly where he is. He was just knocked out, don't know his bearings, don't know exactly where he is. It wasn't wrong and it wasn't right. But going forward, where does Cormier go? Does Cormier, because we hear a lot of times he's having trouble weight cutting to get to 205. Does he stay at 205 and rebuild himself back up for another fight with John Jones or whoever the potential champion would be? John Jones at the end of the fight on Saturday night called out Brock Lesnar, and if us wrestling fans who watched Raw last night, we saw the stipulation that if Brock loses the Universal title at SummerSlam in the Fatal 4-Way, he's leaving the WWE. But technically, his contract's not up. He hasn't put his name in the USDA drug testing thing that he has to do to be a MMA fighter, to be tested regularly. So we're not 100% sure if the John Jones and Brock Lesnar fight is going to happen. I think John should be fighting Alistair Gustafsson in his next fight, because we saw that amazing fight of the year candidate from a few years ago with John Jones and Gustafsson here in Toronto. And I think that's the fight that we would like to see, because that was a very competitive fight that could have went either way. So for me, I would put the Brock Lesnar thing on the back burner. We all know that's the money fight, no pun intended. That's where to make all the pay-per-view buys, because right now the UFC is struggling on pay-per-view. They don't have Conor. Ronda hasn't come back after her devastating loss. John Jones just came back. And they haven't made or developed any other stars underneath. Demetrius Johnson, even though he's a great fighter, he's fighting soup cans down in his division. So I understand the UFC is going to be wanting to put together fights that make the money and that will drive pay-per-view buys. But I think for me as a fight fan, I want to see the John Jones-Gustafsson fight. I also heard that people are saying if anybody's going to beat John, it's going to be a heavyweight. And I think if John does go up to heavyweight, I don't think he should fight Brock Lesnar. I think a fight with Cain Velasquez would be amazing to watch. I don't even know who else is in the heavyweight division. Maybe Junior Joe Santos. Maybe if Cormier goes up to heavyweight, he can have another match with John Jones. It's not like he didn't give John Jones a fight. He did, but he just got caught. And if GSP is coming back, I think GSP should go to fight welterweight and fight Tyron Woodley. I think those are the money matches. I don't think the match that they wanted to make with GSP and Bisbane is a match. Is a money match. I don't think Bisbane is a star. I don't think so. I never have thought he was a star. I thought he got lucky winning the Ultimate Fighter. I thought he got lucky in the fight between him and Anderson Silva. It was a one-trick pony punch that knocked out Luke Rockhold for him to win the belt. I think we're seeing Chris Weidman came off a win a few weekends ago, and I think he could get into that conversation back in middleweight. So there's a lot of moving parts in the world of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. But for me personally, coming out of 214, I wouldn't want to see Brock and John Jones as of yet. I think Gustafsson is the next fight, and if that's something down the line in December, if Brock can do the fight in December, it's not like I don't want to watch it, but I feel I'm more interested in seeing that Gustafsson and John Jones 2 fight more than I am interested in the Brock and Bones fight. Okay? Also, yesterday was the MLB trade deadline, and my Toronto Blue Jays made a couple moves. And the move I liked the most for them was when they traded away Liriano to the Astros, and they picked up, I'm going to say a Japanese outfielder, because I think it's Aoki, Aoki. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Sorry. They picked him up, and the guy I really like that they picked up was he's ranked number 5 in prospects for baseball America, and he plays all 3 outfield positions. And I think what the Jays are doing is that they're trying to stay competitive in 2017 to be competitive in 2018. And I think because ownership is seeing the ballpark full with 40,000 and the TV ratings are high still for the Jays, I think they got a mixture of young. There's not guys in minor leagues that are down there tearing up in the AAA or AA that they can call up tomorrow to fill in holes. I think they can keep competitive with the roster that they have constructed now. But do I think you bring back Jose Batista at $18 million? No, you don't. You don't. You got Troy Tulowitzki for another couple of years that has, I think, almost $30 million owed or more owed to him over the next few years. I think you have a core players that is Stroman, Sanchez, Osuna, Donaldson, Smoke, Devin Travis when he's healthy, if he can ever stay healthy. And it's either you're making a decision, you feel like this was a blip year and you can retool for 2018, because the trade, pretty much the trade deadline that happened yesterday, they didn't make moves to blow up the team. They made moves to, like, okay, we're still going to be competitive. However, we're not saying 2017 is a complete wash. We want to finish up strong, but we're looking forward for next year. Do I think they trade Donaldson in the offseason? I don't think they should. I think you move on. I think if you can get Jose Batista for half the money he got this year, then you bring him back. If not, then you move on and you retool the outfield. Do you trade a Kevin Pillar? Maybe. I think you have your core players. You made moves to kind of help out the farm system in a sense, but there's not guys down there that are world beaters. I think you have two very good prospects, but they're not going to be coming and playing in Jays jerseys in September. I don't think you're going to see Vlad Jr. or you're going to see Bo Bichette playing at Rogers Center anytime soon in like this year, next year. Those guys I'm projecting like 2019, 2020, the Lourdes Gurriel Juniors. Those guys are going to be when the team is really going to be rebuilding, not rebuilding, but these guys are going to be ready to contribute in the major leagues. Right now, they're keeping themselves competitive. And if next season you can find a good spot starter, you can shore up your left field. You're not sure if you're going to get another all-star appearance out of Smoke. That maybe it was a one-hit wonder. We don't know. But we also saw the Yankees get Sonny Gray, which helps them immensely because the Yankees are a very young team with Aaron Judd and Gary Sanchez and the pitchers they've picked up in the last few days with Jamie Garcia and, as I said, Sonny Gray and some bullpen help. They are pretty much looking to win now and in the future. The Red Sox made some moves. I like what the Dodgers did, picking up Yu Darvish. I really think in the National League, you can't discredit the Washington Nationals, and you can't discredit the Arizona Diamondbacks. But everybody knows the glamour pick is Cubs and Dodgers in the NLCS going in October. In the American League, right now the Yankees and Red Sox are separated by half a game. I also like what the Royals did by picking up Melky Cabrera. We all know the White Sox are on a salary dumping and rebuilding their franchise. So it was very quiet and still a little eventful day, but we didn't see Verlander move. We didn't see any of those type of big name guys that were rumored to be moved. They didn't move. So I like what the Jays did. However, to me, they're not making the playoffs in 2017, Jays fans. Sorry to burst your bubble. But I like the direction in which the franchise is going. Okay. Lastly, because today is Emancipation Day in Canada, which is the end of slavery in the British colonies and in Canada happened on this day. I really want to talk about something that is very, very close and near and dear to my heart and has happened to me because of being a black man on numerous occasions. It's called racial prejudice and racial stereotyping or racial injustice. Like for instance, a few weeks ago, family went into H&M. We were looking for a purse, and the manager and and an employee were watching myself, my wife, and my child as we're just looking for a bag, because my little girl decided she wanted to wear a bag on her back because, you know, she had her little toys and it was part of her outfit and wanted to look cute, whatever. And again, being a black man in Canada, people might think, oh, Canada's there, nice people, and there's no racial. No. Racism for black people is everywhere. We are grouped as lazy, unreliable, only good to breed, only here to entertain. And as a black man, we're fighting a battle. It's a war. Will I ever see racial injustice in my lifetime? I'm saying no. Because racial injustice means that I get the same privileges and liabilities and stuff like that as any other race does. And I've seen this for my own self being in Canada, that I've been in situations where I've been on a job, on a work at a work capacity, and I've seen a white lady clutch her purse as I'm on a job. I'm doing a job. I'm being paid for this job, but I've seen a white lady clutch her purse. I've seen white ladies struggle when I was on a job, on this particular retail job, putting a case of water, and I've gone over, because it's my job to help customers. No, it's okay, I got it. Because I am black, because they fear that I might do something. And this is what's happening globally. We entreat each other. The old hates the young hates the old, the women hate the men hate the women. And it's sad, and especially if you're a Caribbean person like myself and African. Caribbean people do not identify themselves as African, and which is crazy to me, because if you know your lineage and you know your history, you know that a majority of us, the blacks that are in the Caribbean, were slaves. And when you do the history and the math, slavery is older than America. America was built off the backs of slaves. Cotton was a trade item for America. This is a little history lesson. It's all out there for people to read, to understand, and how the privilege should be doing it to make change is to understand that I don't have the same rights like you do. They will turn me down in a bank because I'm black for a loan to start a business. But again, if I do start this business, my own people won't support me, because I've heard this saying, especially in a West Indian household, especially in a Yardy household, me nah make no black man get rich off of me. But the funny thing is, that black man, if he opens a business, that creates jobs for a black man and a black woman, and etc., etc. I'm not trying to divide the races. I'm only trying to make you understand, people that listen to my podcast, that this shit is real. Racial injustice is real. We get beaten by the police, especially you live in Toronto, you live in a certain area, you're walking in a certain area, they will card you. And that is illegal, because a white dude that's bagging off his pants listening to Snoop Dogg doesn't get carded, but the black guy that goes to the university in that area will get carded because he fits the description of. How many times have I been driving in a nice area in a nice car, and my white friend got stopped, and they want to ask me where I've been when my white friend was the guy driving. You black people, educate yourself on the laws, educate yourself on what you need to know, because if you don't know, I've heard this saying, and I saw it recently. It said, a child that only learns at school is an uneducated child. And that's the thing. We as parents need to start in the black community, safeguarding our children and making them understand the police are not scary. Not all the police are bad. Not all white people are bad. Not all XYZs are bad, but there are wolves in sheep clothing out here, and you have to understand that you have to educate yourself and know where you come from, know your history, know your lineages, because the funny thing is they give us a month like it's not grouped together in our history. History is history. There's no such thing as black history, white history, American history, Native American history. History is history. The truth of the matter is the Europeans came over here, stole our native brothers and sisters' land, and then went to Africa and stole black people. And the funny thing is they try to say this is their home. Go back to where you came from. Funny thing is you can never return stolen property. Okay? Thanks for tuning in, folks. As usual, you can always hit me up, facebook.com/Yardy podcast. Drop me a line, leave me a message. You can always comment, like, and subscribe to the YouTube channel at The Grateful Yardy Podcast. I've fluffed up there a little bit. On Instagram, that's Mr_Special. On Twitter, Mr. Special. And God bless, be grateful, and also hit up Special T's YouTube channel and other social media. She has some wicked tunes. And trust me, big things are coming out for that girl. Peace.